Mr. Litvinov or whoever, they're gonna just assume that that person is a council person, and I just don't think it's appropriate.
Recording them.
Okay, I'm gonna record anyway.
Yeah.
Good evening, West Orange. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we are coming to you live from council chambers. This is the West Orange Township Council Budget Workshop for June 17th, 2025. You are welcome to join us in council chambers, but there will be no public comment on Zoom or in council chambers. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to our council president. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan, and welcome West Orange to our fifth budget workshop. But before we go any further, I have to defer to Madam Clerk.
Thank you. This is to inform the general public that this workshop is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The notice for this workshop was emailed to the West Orange Chronicle and the Star Ledger on June 11th, 2025. Let the record show that Councilwoman Castellino is not present tonight. Councilwoman Rudin.
Oh, here.
Councilwoman Scarpa.
Here.
Thank you. Council President Krakowiak.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, this is our fifth budget workshop. We have a little bit to intro the meeting, and I start with that the draft from the mayor, the draft budget from the mayor proposed to raise municipal property taxes by 6.2%. And we've been looking for efficiencies and savings to lower that increase. As Mr. Fagan said, we are not taking public comment. If you want to comment or ask questions, please send an email to council@westorange.org, which, despite what you may think, also goes to the mayor and several people in her administration. If you want to send just to the council, send it to one of us and ask for distribution to the rest of the council. If you need email addresses, you can search for council on the township website. Recordings of the workshops are on the township website. You can find them by searching by video gallery. We, at the last workshop, we added a member of the Citizens Budget Advisory Board to the dais up here, and we expect to have a member of the board here. In fact, even as I speak, she walked in the room and made a incredibly well-timed joining us. Ms. Bennett, please, we've got you over here in the corner. So Ms. Michaela Bennett from the Citizens Budget Advisory Board is joining us, and she will be participating, I'm sure, in terms of asking questions, making comments, which is the whole idea, to get the Citizens Budget Advisory Board more involved with the process. I'm also now going to defer to Mr. Detiniak, our Chief Financial Officer, because he may have made some last minute changes that might help you at home to follow along. Mr. Detiniak.
Thank you, Council President. Just bear with me while I hook my computer up to the screen so I can show everyone at home.
Can we also talk about the letter that was sent out to DCA?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that too.
Mr. Detiniak, would it help if we turn down the lights a little bit?
It always, it's better.
Okay.
It also brings an element of suspense, like in a scary movie.
Okay, so the first bit of housekeeping, I'm looking at the Township of West Orange's brand new website. Hopefully the people at home have checked out the redesign. What we've added is last week's budget presentation. So the documents that we covered last week, we've added a link to those documents. We have a link to all of tonight's documents, a PDF, and I'll be referencing that throughout the evening. And then tomorrow morning, we tried to get it up tonight, but I sort of ran out of time. Tomorrow morning, we are going to have what sort of replaces, but I'm not going to get rid of this, but It's a 2025 municipal budget, sort of where we're at right now. It's going to show all of the departmental cuts that we've talked about. It's going to recalculate the average increase, and it's going to be better page numbers and a better index. So look for that tomorrow morning. We'll have the full budget document that was submitted by the administration up with all of the most up-to-date cuts, including what we're talking about tonight. So we'll have that ready for tomorrow morning. And just sort of where we're at right now, putting the cart before the horse. We're looking at, oops. Oh no. My referencing's off, but it's about $160 on the average home. I'll fix that referencing. And we'll show that a little bit later in the evening, but we're down to $160 on the average home for the local tax. The one other thing I want to talk about is we mentioned it at the last budget hearing. We did receive a letter from the Division of Local Government Services, the director, Michael Rogers, instructing the township to introduce a budget by June 30th, or the council will face a penalty of $25 a day. We appealed that letter as per the instructions in the letter, and we sent a response requesting that we be allowed to introduce at our regularly scheduled meeting in July. So that letter that we sent is really like an application to the local finance board. So we sent a copy to Director Michael Rogers, Assistant Director Christine Zapicki, and the Deputy Attorney General Craig M. Kaiser, and also the Executive Secretary to the local finance board, Nicholas Bennett. And we emailed a copy to applications at local finance board. We also sent hard copies to all the individuals I named, along with all of the members of the local finance board to their, assuming, personal home addresses as per the instructions on the local finance board website. I did have a conversation with Assistant Director Zapicki. She did not promise anything, but we spoke about the situation, and I was very clear about when we gave the council the budget, April 16th, and where we've been with the hearings and where we're looking to get. So, the hope is that they will grant that extension to us. I believe that they will. And then we should introduce July 22nd. As I stated in the last hearing, we can introduce and amendments can be made. Just like last year, I think we had a few rounds of amendments. So the introduced budget, for those new on the council, introduced budget does not have to be the final budget document. It can be amended through the actions of this governing body. That's all I really have to say on that. So if you want to proceed, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Tiniak. Just one more housekeeping issue. As many of you probably know, Councilwoman Geber Michael resigned from the council effective immediately last week. And so we're down to 4 council people on the five member council. And Councilwoman Castellino is now on vacation. And so she is not joining us tonight, as the clerk mentioned. So we have what I would call a bare quorum to be holding this meeting. And we will be signing off at 8 o'clock tonight when we lose that quorum. And I know that's probably disappointing a lot of you who don't have anything to do between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, which is the scheduled end, but so be it. Anyway, so we will continue to try to move forward as quickly as possible. Mr. Tiniak, unless there's one more issue too that Councilwoman Rudin raised earlier in our workshop process. A majority of the council at that time voted not to take any votes to make any modifications to the budget, either increase it or decrease it. Councilwoman Rudin would like to revisit that issue and normally for a floor vote, I think, don't we usually have to have 4 votes for a motion from the floor? Is there any parliamentarian who can advise us? Then if we're not sure that we can take a floor motion or entertain a floor motion, that's fine. So we should just move on. We'll continue to take the detailed notes that Mr. Detiniak is taking on all of our decisions that we've made so far, and we'll just continue to move on. And when we get a clarification on the issue of whether we can have a floor motion, we will revisit the issue. Councilwoman Scarpa.
Yeah, I thought, the clerk had mentioned to us the last time that I think it was when you wanted to add, you needed the 4-person. Maybe she can clarify if she knows.
I think perhaps you're mentioning the issue of adding to the budget requires
Right.
4 votes. Reducing the budget takes only 3 votes. If that's what you're referring to, we're not talking about that now. We're talking about whether we can make a motion from the floor to entertain a vote about taking a vote.
Oh, okay.
So it's
I
a-
just thought maybe she could clarify. No problem.
Just did.
That's
Okay,
all right. Go, move on.
yes. Is there any other housekeeping?
So I'm reading here, it says a main motion, introduced from the floor generally requires a majority vote for approval, and a majority vote is defined as more than half of the votes cast by the members legally entitled to vote.
Okay.
So my understanding of a majority vote is 3, and a supermajority would be 4. They're not talking about a supermajority here.
And so what you're talking about is to introduce a floor motion.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Well, Madam Clerk, you have a lot more time in this than I do. So if you were saying that you're confident that that's the,
Yeah, I mean, Pete's gonna try to, or Mr. Smeraldo's gonna try to get the attorney on the phone, but I would go.
okay. Why don't we just wait for 5
Yeah.
minutes until Mr. Smeraldo gets back, and then we can entertain it at that point. Is
Okay.
there any other housekeeping we have? Councilwoman Rudin.
I just wanted to respond to Mr. Detiniak's letter to the DCA. There was a measure before the Senate which raises the charges of the fees to the governing body. It just came out, I think, today or yesterday, that proposes to raise it to $100 a day, not $25 a day. So that's a lot of money, and I would like to really understand from you why you are confident or feel fairly confident that we will be getting an extension.
So the letter references the $25. So I don't think that the $100 is in play. Just in my experience, the state really only started doing this last year. And of the municipalities that they penalized, none of the municipalities ever made an application requesting extra time. So we're now the first municipality to actually come back and listen, the Township of West Orange has been on this timeline for years. This is not really abnormal, introducing in June and adopting in August, September. So this is something that DLGS is just trying to get the municipalities to introduce and adopt on a faster basis. But again, we were responsive. I've laid out a plan. I spoke to Assistant Director Zapiki about the plan, and I'm confident. So that's all I can give you. I can't guarantee it.
Okay. Thank you. So this legislation that is before the state legislation right now is setting firmer deadlines for next year as well. So I hope that we are not in this position.
Yeah,
for
I
next
think
year.
the legislation also is making the extensions automatic, and because they always it's always like, all right, you should introduce by, the end of February, first meeting in March, and then every year they do a local finance notice and they extend it because the local finance board votes on it. I think the legislation now is just saying, this is the due date that we always end up extending it to. Let's just codify it. So, but you're right. They are trying to increase the fees and they're trying to ding the CFOs as well. That's part of that legislation.
So just to follow up on that, I know what you meant when you said abnormal. I consider the lateness of the budget over a number of years to be abnormal. And I'm going to try to do everything that I can to move this up on a even faster schedule. And my understanding is the systems that you are currently putting in
Yeah.
place is going to make that a whole lot easier, a whole lot more efficient, and a whole lot faster and earlier. in the
And we're just going to start the process earlier. We want to get this to you for 26 in October so that even if we had 10 of these for 5 hours apiece, we still will have plenty of time to adhere to the calendar dates. And I agree, introducing and adopting a budget late in a year really does not give you a lot of say in the spending, because if,
It's already been spent.
if there's like 10 months have gone by and, what can you really do? We've already spent. So I agree with you 100%. The process needs to be better and it needs to be much earlier. And I put my name on it. I've already told DLGS that they will look and see, did we adhere to it? Did we start holding hearings in October? Like I said, we would. They'll watch these meetings. They'll watch your next council meeting. I mean, they don't make idle threats. Well, I understand that. And they do their homework on it. So,
Yeah, and it's not overbearing. They are absolutely right. And just as you mentioned, having a late budget really reduces the flexibility that we have to make changes and improvements. So
The
Please.
$161 per family or per resident, per household increase, what percentage is that?
it's like 4.06%.
So we still have a ways to go to bring it down to zero.
I don't think you're going to get to zero. I really don't. I don't think that's realistic. I don't see that happening. Just because we had a 6% increase in salaries because it's the effect of 24 and 25. I just don't see that happening, along with the healthcare costs, debt service. I really don't see that happening, nor would I ever recommend going to 0%. I'll never tell you to go 0%. So.
Okay.
yeah, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. Councilwoman Scarpa.
Yeah, I would really like to see it go to zero. And if that means we have to wait and not fill any open positions, I think we need to look at that. And I also think we need to look at our staffing a little more carefully.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, Ms. Bennett.
Just briefly, Council President, I've had 2 requests from the Citizens Budget Advisory Board that when there are changes to the proposed budget, if copies can be made, I know there's a couple over here, but if copies can be made for the entire board as well.
Sure, we actually had a problem with our copier tonight.
So
Yeah, but.
I think we have a meeting tomorrow, so maybe for tomorrow. Yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
How many would you need?
I have a copy. It looks like there's more over here, but I've had 2 requests and there's only 2 here. I'm assuming, I think there's, how many of us are there? 5, 6, 7, there's 7 of us, so maybe 5 more.
Okay. That's
And I sent around the digital copies earlier today in an email.
It's
So-
entirely possible that not everybody would want to kill the trees, so. I'll find out. I think so.
I'll figure it out. Wherever it is, that's where I'll leave the copies.
And I'll find out tonight before you,
Okay.
thank you.
That's it?
That was all I had.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Tiniak, I think we're now ready to move forward.
So
Please.
we're going to go a little bit out of order. I apologize, but we have Mr. Biondi here and we'd like him to start. So we're going to begin on it's page 22. If you're following along at home, 22 of the PDF for tonight. And we put it in present mode. This is UCC. Madam Clerk, they have the updated packets, right? The council, the
Yeah,
thing over
yeah.
there. Okay.
They're not paginated.
Yeah, they're not. Why? They're on here as paginated.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
okay. Well, there's only like 25 pages. It's like the third from the last, UCC. I don't know. I hate this
Very
guy.
odd.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, on mine, it's not third from the end.
It's towards the end because there's only 25 pages in all.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, we won't go over the individuals. The total salaries and wages for the department. It's a mix of salaried and hourly pay. We're at $712,231. And, there you go. This is going real well tonight. Failed to load document. As a comparison last year, I mean, the salaries and wages have gone up 14.7%. I'm gonna let Mr. Biondi just talk about staffing and just how busy the office is and sort of the need for the additional staff. Yeah, go ahead.
My name's Tom Biondi. I serve as construction official in West Orange. The West Orange Building Department plays a vital role in protecting the health and safety of residents, businesses, and visitors of West Orange through the inspection process, including electrical, building, plumbing, mechanical, and fire safety. In 2024, we oversaw $114 million in new construction, processed 2,500 permits, and our permit fees brought in $2.5 million. And this year, we may eclipse that figure. We normally have 4 full-time inspectors and 4 part-time inspectors. We have 3 office staff. Right now, we are short 1 full-time building inspector, and I would like to add a part-time multiple licensed inspector because of new DCA rules. I believe that inspector will more than pay for themselves. I would also like 1 more full-time office keyboard clerk. And I believe that extra person in the office would bring in more than enough to pay for themselves. The reason I would like another part-time multi-role inspector is that there's new DCA rules that we have to be able to do an inspection in 3 days, or the contractor or homeowner can call in a third-party approved inspector to do the inspection. I'm not a big fan of third-party inspections as we lose control over jobs, and I believe paying a company for inspections is a huge conflict of interest. The companies that do those inspections would disagree with me. So the inspections are costly and the permit fees are already paid to the town. We would have to credit them for the cost of the third-party inspections at the end of the permitting, at the end of the inspections. I don't know if you want me to talk about capital, our vehicles.
Well,
No, not at this meeting. So,
Okay.
There you go.
Well, we had 1 car retired because it was dangerous. The steering would go out intermittently, so. Can I explain it a little bit? Okay, we need 7, we only have 6. And our newest car is 2022. Okay, that's enough about cars, I guess. Thank you. Nice.
so I'd like to move to the other expenses. As Mr. Biondi said, the department takes in a significant amount of revenue. Part of it is paid to the state through the DCA fee, based on what type of permits are done. We pay money down to the state as part of the revenue that we collect. But as far as revenues exceeding the operations, this is sort of the department that you like to have that happen. And we have that. Our other expense ask is only $23,090. It hasn't increased from the prior year. I'm gonna jump to that right now. Of course, my document won't load. Oh.
Mr. Tenak, before we move on to the O&E, I just want to ask a question because I know I keep bringing this up. When I was on the council before, we would have the requests for adding spots or adding employment as part of the budget process, and I don't see it here. So I'm just wondering, have we changed that part of the process or?
So we're not requesting any additional spots in this ask. This is for our current headcount. And I think I've read the room pretty well that we're not looking to add to a budget. So we are not asking for any additional spots.
Okay,
Council
we can
President,
expect that in the next budget, I would think.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll evaluate that in 2026, but for 2025, we have a roster and we're going to make that work.
Councilwoman.
Mr. Biondi, can you explain how we are paying for outsourcing the positions that you say would save us money if we had the staff? Who are we paying for these services and how much are we paying?
It would be paid through permit fees. We have certain permit fees, basically there's permits sitting there. We have to go, every once in a while, we have to go through them. Find out, we need more information sometimes, and that permit fee is not paid yet. And-
Mr. Biondi, I apologize for interrupting you. Could you just move the microphone head more towards the direction of that you're speaking? Yes,
Okay.
yes. So that even when you tilt your head,
Sorry
it'll
about
still
that.
pick it up. No, that's okay. That's okay.
What I'm asking is, are you outsourcing some of the work right now? And who is getting that work and
It's
how much
not
are we
being
paying?
outsourced.
It's not. So how would adding new positions, even though I know we're not really talking about this go round, how would that pay for itself?
It would pay for bringing more permit fees in, because after a while, we box these permits and they're never paid. So if we have somebody keep on top of that, we would have enough permit fees basically to pay the position.
Okay, can you give me an example?
An example, okay, so we need information for a permit to be issued. And we have shelves full of permits, we're waiting for information. And we need someone to call these people, and it's a big job to do. To call these people, ask the information, find out if the job was done, and if the job was done, then we have more issues. They can be fined for doing the job without the permit. But we need that information so we could issue the permit and collect the permit fees. And we also have permits that are ready to be issued. They're sitting there waiting for the payment, and people aren't coming in and making the payments. If we had somebody go through all those permits and call them every couple weeks. And right now, my staff is overloaded. They don't have time to do that. And that's one thing, I call it a special project. And I wanted to have the kids that are coming in, the interns or whatever you want to call them. I want to put one of those on, see if they could make that work. But I don't think we're getting them this year. Wasn't enough. There wasn't enough. I wanted two, but I guess not enough departments wanted the interns, I'll call them. And so we're not getting any interns.
And is any of this automated so that you get a notice when a permit hasn't? No.
Not automated at all. It's all hand done. And with our new software, it should be a lot easier to do with the new software. I'm hoping it's going to be easier to do. But that's a whole other thing, or I don't know if you know about the new software we're getting, is the DCA is mandated that we accept digital permits, plans, and professional seals. Everything has to be accepted digitally. And right now, that's taking up the staff's time just to try to help design it, get the information that they need. We're going to classes, but it's taking up a lot of their time. I mean, once it's implemented, and I think it's going to be at least a year, it'll be more efficient, hopefully, and it should help. But right now, our staff is overloaded and they're being asked to do the extra work to develop this software.
Thank you. Please go on with the OE, please.
So as I stated, this is a very small.
Oh, I apologize.
was that the
Apologize.
one up-
Councilwoman Scarpa, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had the same thought as Councilwoman Rubin, and I want an analysis of to what extent we can automate this function. And I'd like the CFO to do a cost benefit analysis of hiring someone, versus, subcontracting it or using, a computer program to do some of these functions. I think we need to look at this more carefully before we hire another person.
So we do have new software that, as Mr. Biondi said, is mandated so that we can allow for the submission of these documents digitally. So that's going to go into effect, and we're going to have some equipment that goes along with that, iPads and hotspots and all that to be able to do the field work necessary to interface with that system. So, that will speed things up from an administrative work perspective. But we still need people to process the permits. We still need people to go out there and do the inspections. So we're still going to need actual people.
Can we do this with part-time employees versus bringing on more employees that are going to be kind of costly with benefits and all that?
No, we actually do supplement most of the inspection work with part-time employees. Our office staff right now is mostly full-time. But you're right. And where we can save by utilizing part-time and not having to pay for health benefits and pension, we obviously look to do that. You have any more to add, Mr. Biondi, or?
I mean, I've surveyed other towns. We have a lot less employees than most other towns our size. Excuse me. I've called many towns and asked them. I found out that most towns have all the staff in the office are technical assistants. Right now we're not paying anybody as a technical assistant. We have 2 girls that have their certifications, but they're still keyboard clerks. So there's office staff for the size of our town, the amount of permits we bring in, I think it's understaffed. And if you call here, it's affecting the way we take care of our residents. Sometimes I go in the office, each has a phone to the ear and I hear them, the phone's ringing. Very often that happens, so. And the DCA is making everything more complicated. Our permits are more complicated, what we require is more complicated. It takes extra time, and our staff, I think, is inundated.
Mr. Biondi, I totally agree with you. The bottom line is how well can we serve our residents and the people who want to make improvements on their property? I totally agree with you on that. I'm looking at your salary and wage table. It looks like to me like we have maybe 4 part-timers. Is that correct? I mean, we're already,
Inspectors, we have part-time,
okay, that's what,
but in the office, there's 3 full-time.
okay. So I'm sorry, we were still talking about the O&E, if you wanted to introduce that or continue speaking.
Again, we don't have an increase over the amount budgeted last year. We did have an over expenditure that we had to cover with a transfer. We do not anticipate having that for this year. So we've kept with the $23,090 from the prior year. Not really any room to cut, again, because it's just such a significantly small OE. And we have to be mindful too that we don't allow that delta between revenues and the operating expenses to increase so much that it sort of gets the state to perk up and sort of take a look at our fees and everything, because it's never going to go well for us.
Could I just ask one question about the O and E? Last year, line 160 fund for private property repairs. I assume that that's what you were talking about. That seems to be the biggest jump from 24. Isn't that something where we have to spend the money to fix a problem that the property owner isn't fixing, but then we also get that money back? Is that what that fund is for?
So the hope is that you get the money back because you end up putting a lien on the property, but if nothing moves and the property isn't sold or the lien isn't, redeemed, it's sitting out there as a receivable, but, unfortunately you have to spend the money.
Where did you get the extra money from?
We took it from some other OE account, when we did transfers at the end of the year. It's not a specific account. I mean, there's specific accounts we took from, but it was part of an overall transfer resolution. So
Did the increase in the spending we had to do on this line item, did it indicate that there's some trend going on in the township that would require more of this funding?
it's a case by case basis. We're just going through one right now, correct? With the tree, which I don't want to bring up too much because, but yeah, we have to pay for the emergency removal and then we're going to take action with a resolution and lien the property and all that sort of stuff. Again, it's case by case basis. If something were to really be a big thing, we would probably end up doing a special emergency and, or a bond ordinance or something like that. But, hopefully we can handle it with this sort of small OE account. And we only get one or two of these things a year. A lot of them are on the property maintenance side are really just, cutting the lawn. Either we do it ourselves or, a landscaper that we have on staff, on contract can do it. And they're small amounts of money.
There's also sometimes where the construction official, if there's an emergency such as a fire or a building collapse of some sort, where we have to call out a specialized service to come in just to secure the property, because based on his decision, that the property is inhabitable or unsafe for occupation, but the people either they're not there or they've been burned out or whatever the case may be, and then we have to make that emergency procurement just to secure the building or the facility, whatever it may be.
In other words, we have to spend the money. Okay. Anything else?
Council President,
Yes, I'm sorry, didn't missed your hand,
I
right?
didn't really put it up.
Please go ahead.
It's the same question, 3 different areas. So 030, 111, and there was one more, 200. I see the proposed. I see what was spent. I see you're carrying forward the proposed. Is there a reason 2 of them were not spent? And one was underspent by $1,500. So is there a reason to carry forward the other number?
What's that to the top? Might as well address that one first.
So, for this year, we've already spent $3,072 on the printing. So that's why we kept the same request for the 030 account. Regarding maintenance and repair, just to give, because there's not too many of these, I can give quick updates. We haven't spent anything in maintenance and repair. For the code books, the code books, we've spent like $450. I'll let Mr. Biondi anticipate if we need to buy more code books for the rest of the year or.
Code books are usually good for 3 years and they all, we have all different code books. So some you have to buy this year, and next year we have to buy, like, say, electrical code books, plumbing. So that's why it probably changes.
Do you have what you need for the next 3 years?
No. No, I have a list. I already have a list of things we need as far as code books.
And then
It's not a big list, it's just,
our materials and supplies, we've spent about half of what we've requested as of today. And then looking at professional services, we haven't spent anything. And the fund for private property repairs, right now, we have about half, $7,400, and that was for that tree removal that I spoke about on St. Cloud, so. So there's a potential in the code books sub-account.
Potential to save?
If the council would like to make a change, I would say do it in the code book section.
And professional services also?
And professional services, I don't have anything, but I want to let Mr. Biondi have a chance to, because I'm not sure what, there was nothing spent last year, so I don't know what would be spent on the professional services side of things.
I don't have an answer. I don't know what the professional services line is. I don't know what we use that for.
It
Thank you.
probably is a leftover from, maybe many years ago, because I don't think this budget has changed dramatically in years.
Well, when you, if you want to update these two numbers, it looks like line 111 and line 200, we should be able to make some reductions there. You want to just bring this back in the update for the draft budget when we get ready to introduce it, or at least to review it again so
Yes.
that we can take votes.
I'm just going to make a note. Oh, I'm on screen doing that, but I just want to make a note,
Yes.
Council President.
Seems like if we don't know what the professional services are being used for, that should be zeroed out. And then take a look at what we need for the code books. Maybe half more of what has already been spent.
Yeah.
I have a list. Mhm.
So we're agreed on zeroing out professional services?
Correct. And I'll allow Mr. Biondi to just give me an estimate on the code books, and, whatever the delta is, we'll reduce it.
Sounds good.
Can you tell me why we're spending so much on printing outside?
Stickers, past stickers, stop work notices, unsafe structure notices. I'm guessing that's what it means for. It's costly. We just got a huge order in. We were out in.
So have you met your printing needs for this year then?
I can't answer that right now. I'd have to check with my staff.
Yeah, there's a lot of different documents for the permit approvals that are printed outside with an outside vendor, particularly D&M Instant Printing and K Printing.
Our permit forms.
Yeah, there's folders, forms. It's nothing we can really do in-house. They're professional forms.
All UCC forms.
Council President, just one other question.
Yes, please.
And in regards to this, and this is probably all departments, but because it's coming up here, digitizing, like any of these forms, is there any consideration around digitizing so we're not purchasing paper at all?
So what I can answer that is that we're next week, we're gonna be training our staff in the municipal product that we've been talking about. And This is gonna replace the Mitchell Humphreys program at the building department. Actually, the whole genesis of going paperless for the township was through the building department. And what we did with the building department, we created this document. It's gonna be going live July 8th right now, because training is next week. But that's gonna be for more out in the field when the inspectors are doing the reports. What that's going to do is allow the citizens to look, like anybody's, like, it's gonna cut down on Oprah requests, it's gonna cut down on information on properties. We're gonna be able to let the general public be able to be able to create an account to get certain information without having to go through Oprah and to others. But part of it with the building department is that some of the applications can be submitted, some of the processes, but not everything yet, because the state of New Jersey, the DCA, is not quick to change a lot of the applications. So that's part of it. What we did do 2 years ago is we did digitize almost every single inspection and plan and everything else in the building department up to 2023, I think it was. I think it was 2024. So everything has been digitized, and we're using a company called Phobionics, which is working out very well for us. So we have digitized probably about 90% of or greater of the building department's paperwork. So, but that still doesn't deal with the things such as Mr. Biondi's. They have, when somebody submits an application, we have to do the cards. They have to do paperwork. They still have to put stickers out there. We want to go paperless, but the reality is that there's still going to be some paper that we have to provide.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, just to follow up, Mr. Biondi, could you take a look at what your code book needs are for the rest of this year? And then advise Mr. Tiniak, Mr. Smeraldo, and maybe send an email to us too, so that we can keep up with these changes.
Yes.
Does that sound fair? Okay. Anything else on this budget from anyone?
So I just have one other question, and it's just in regards to the fund for private property repair, and I think it's just a general comment. How do you capture within the budget when there is recuperating the funds expended? I don't know how you're doing that in the budget.
So that's a great question. So whenever we would get, if we were to get the money back this year, so if we do the tree work today and then the lien is redeemed 2 months from now, that money would go back into that line item as a reimbursement. If it comes next year or the year after or whenever, we would take it in as miscellaneous revenue not anticipated. So just as a revenue. You wouldn't generally anticipate something that small. Again, if it was something big, like we had to demolish a building and we spent $500,000, and then I knew next year we're getting that money back, I would bring it to you as an anticipated revenue and say, like, we're getting this, we should really put it into the budget to reduce the impact to the taxpayer. But for something small, like we're going to get $2,400 maybe in a couple of years, we would just take it in as Myrna. So we wouldn't anticipate it. It would just go to replenish the fund balance.
Because I don't always understand this, so I'm not,
No, it's okay.
I'm not beating a dead horse here. So let's say instead of an expense, you had revenue how would that be reflected in how would you actually reflect different line item, or it would be a plus?
If I really anticipated it, like I knew before let's say we got it in February and it was $10,000, and I said, I know I have it in hand and I want to use it to offset the increase to taxation, I would put it in the revenue side of things early on in the budget, and it would be named, return of whatever the lien number was. So it would be spelled out, but usually you sort of get these things when the property sells, and then we get paid out on the lien. Or sometimes, someone will say, oh, I didn't even realize this happened. Let me pay you for this. and then we would just take it in as Myrna, or again, if it's in the year that we spent it, I can put it into the budget account itself and replenish it.
Thank you.
So,
Anything else on UCC?
I just have a question. Why weren't the interns used this year since they could be so helpful in bringing in revenue?
There was, what, not enough departments, requested, and they had to have a certain number. I think it was 10. I asked 2. Last year I had 3 interns.
I'm sorry. So the intern, that was the county. So they insisted that we take, I believe it was 8 or 9 that we had to, and we didn't have to work for them. In the past, we would say, we need 4 or 5, whatever the case may be. But they insisted this year that we took a greater number.
If we have any college students who are looking for work, can you take them?
Absolutely.
Okay. 2 people have reached out to me, so.
they would either have to be paid or the work that they do would qualify for some college credit. So we couldn't just have them be unpaid. They'd have to get something out of it. So if it would have to qualify for some sort of credit. So we'd have to speak with whatever the university was.
Mhm.
So I don't want to run afoul of any labor laws or anything like that.
Anything else?
No,
Mr. Biondi, it looks like you can go home now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This mine?
Council President, just to, so I spoke to Mr. Burke, if you'd like me to advise you on what he said about the procedures.
Oh, please, thank you.
So I spoke to Mr. Burke. I explained to him that, currently there's 4 members of council, 3 are in attendance. And that there was a request to bring something from the floor to make a motion. So according to Mr. Burke, he says, because there was action, I have the advertisement here. I stole from your voice. It says action may be taken. However, just above it, there's no public comment. So because there's no public comment, action is not permitted to happen tonight. If we didn't have this no public comment, then the 3 of the 4 could make that motion and approve things, provided it was nothing to do, like say with an ordinance or money or something of that nature. But for a reso or something of that, you could do 3 out of 4. But because this clearly says there's no public comment here, he says it's prohibited tonight. So that's the advice he stated.
Okay.
All right.
We will deal with that offline and hopefully have a good outcome for the next workshop.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Council President, can I move on with
Please.
Township Council? I think you recognize some of these names up here.
Sure, we can cut these guys.
Yeah, as we sort of,
Already gotten rid of one of them.
yeah, I won't say we talked because we didn't really talk about it as a group before the meeting, but in speaking with Councilwoman Rudin about Asmaret Gebermichael is obviously resigned. So we can go ahead and prorate the salary for this particular individual. I would just want to know when, we're going to have a new, I don't know if you'd even tell me that, a new council member. Otherwise, I mean, I would like to err on the side of caution, just leave that amount in there. And if we're left with a little bit at the end of the year, so be it. But obviously we will put this as vacant when we put the new budget up tomorrow and, or I don't want to say I'll put it as vacant. I will put the amount paid to Ms. Gebermichael and then put vacant for the remainder of the $12,487.
Still need to authorize that money because that position will likely be filled soon. So maybe just leave it.
Okay, so just bottom line for vacant.
Right.
And, if we get a name, we'll add the name and redo the budget document, but,
Yeah, if the council chooses to fill the vacancy, then that has to be done by July 12th.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can move on from here. This is the town council's budget. It has not changed from last year. Obviously, you can change it if you'd like, through the vote, but,
Okay. So
that's,
I'd say lower the printing and stationery. We're done with that.
give me 1 second, I'm sorry, I apologize, Councilwoman.
That line, I believe, is where their business cards come out of
Right.
that.
Right, so we've actually spent $90 so far in that particular account.
Okay.
So that there is something spent there. And we would anticipate then, if we got a new council member, potentially spending another $90.
Was it 90 for 3 new positions?
No, they're more expensive than that. I think it's $90.
Per council
Correct.
member.
Okay, so then can we lower that to 180?
Yeah, I think I still had some council cards left over from the first
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
I
you
saved
did.
$90.
You did.
What is the duplicating and recording?
I don't know.
So that is for West Orange's favorite son, Mr. Fagan. I don't know why I said it like that. I apologize. I don't.
He is. We should
that's
take a
for-
vote.
That's for town council Zoom meeting and post-production work. And our subscription to the Chronicle, the World Community Newspaper Chronicle.
Mhm.
So-
That's that much money for the subscription to the Chronicle?
No, it's $35 for the Chronicle, but Mr. Fagan is moderating.
Right, can we add that in the taping and the council and make that more reflective of what it is?
Can we get the right screen up?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I apologize. I wanted to make a note to reduce the,
Sounds snippy, but I was like.
You don't want me to grab the gavel again, do you?
Yeah. No. wait.
okay.
I think that the first thing is that I think that there's a misconception that diplomacy is incompatible.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
I'm
just-
fine.
could you just hit this mute when you're speaking during the meeting, please, if you're not recognized,
Okay.
please.
Yeah. So in looking at this now, we need to move these over to the 092 account. So we'll do that.
Okay, is that the entire amount moving over?
Well, the $35 will stay, I guess, for
Okay,
the.
so then can we
so-
change 031 to subscription?
Yeah, we can redo that to change that sub account name, and we can reduce it.
Okay, how much have we spent so far on advertising? And when you say advertising, is that noticing?
That's noticing. Yeah, that's all rural community newspapers. We've spent so far, well, $1,567.
Okay, and we're halfway through the year, so that's why are we requesting over 12,000?
We want to cut, we can
Okay,
cut.
I suggest cutting that to a total of 4,000.
Okay,
Mm,
I'm gonna just go back to my,
Yes, Madam Clerk, please.
yeah, no, I,
Fill in on this. 'Cause
Well, yeah, so the advertising is, all the ordinances have to be advertised on first and second reading. Resolutions, certain resolutions have to be advertised. The budget has to be advertised, which is big. That's pretty expensive. Anytime we change any notice, meetings or anything, all that has to be advertised. The audit. I mean, certainly you can reduce the line, but I wouldn't go that low.
Okay. How about to 6,000?
That's definitely more reasonable. I
Okay.
think.
I'm just gonna switch
No,
back
just
so I
like-
can record this. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
On dinner meetings, I haven't had any dinner here. So, and I don't think the other council people have. Can we just remove that?
Stingy with food.
Hmm?
Stingy with the food.
That must be an old line.
Okay.
I remember you served pizza here.
Pizza.
Occasion.
So
Or
the taping for the council meetings, why is that coming out here rather than in a salary position?
It's a
Since
separate,
that's part of a salary, isn't that?
So this is again for Mr. Fagan. He's a contractor with the township. So it's a other expense, operating expense.
Okay, and what if we paid to date?
We paid out of this particular line, $5,905. Or no, let me take that back. Yeah, $5,945, and then the money that was put to the wrong account still within town council, just the wrong sub account. Tack on another, $2,500 about.
What do you mean tack on another 2,500?
Because there were early meetings that were charged to the duplicating and recording account. For Mr. Fagan, they should have gone to the taping and council meeting sub account. Again, it's all still within town council. So I'm just doing the sort of quick math there. I don't recommend cutting this. I think we're going to hit that mark. Simply because we're halfway there. And we've spent about, a little over $7,500.
Okay. Going down to miscellaneous frames, I personally would like to see us getting rid of giving out plaques and stuff like that. So I'd like to reduce that budget. And how much have we spent already?
So we have spent $210.89.
How do my colleagues feel about
That also included
eliminating
name
plaques? Okay, so we've spent them for the year. We
I'm in
only-
agreement.
we'll need one more nameplate.
So when everyone retires from the council after serving so many years, you don't get anything?
Mm-mm.
No, we don't need a plaque.
I'd like to get a tree.
Yeah, me too. Plant a tree and I'm in. Great suggestion.
Councilwoman Geber Michael has resigned. I suppose,
Suspect.
yes. And suggest that we consider that we would do something for her to memorialize that in some sort of hardware.
Why? We have to increase our defense
I think
industrial
that's-
base so that we have weapons to go around.
I think it's a waste of money.
I do too.
Production so that we can handle
I don't know. I don't.
Well, let's make a note of it, and when we bring it back for a vote, we will,
How much are
Debate
these?
it.
How much are the plaques?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can certainly find out.
Okay, so we spent 210. If we're going to give a plaque, one more plaque, maybe another 150.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a worthwhile expenditure. They end up in the garbage.
I agree. Maybe Councilwoman Geber Michael would like to plant a tree instead. We could ask her.
Mhm.
Well,
Mr. Detiniak, could you just note that?
Yes,
when it
yes,
comes
Council
back around?
President. I did note that we have potential cut to sub-account 111
Okay.
when we revisit this.
Permanent property? What is that?
It's probably a leftover. We haven't spent anything from it.
Okay, can we eliminate that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Madam Clerk, I remember bringing this up when I was on the council the first time. Doesn't it, it's whatever office furniture or anything that we're required to have in the office.
Yeah. Nothing was spent. Yeah, I honestly don't know.
So let's just say, for example, a chair breaks.
Right,
You gotta have the chair, somebody's gotta sit in it.
right.
You buy the chair and then it goes into that account, right?
we would probably buy it from existing capital funds for, office furniture. I don't think we would. I don't think anybody even remembers that there's probably money in there for something like that for this particular room. And that's where we would spend it, just from those existing capital accounts for furniture and equipment. So if you'd like to get rid of it, we can get rid of it.
Yeah, unless there's some reason to keep it, let's
Not
certainly. Like I know, when I was here before, we had to replace the audio recorder, and that was a significant amount of money.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Why
I
don't we
don't-
think about taking it out for this year and we can look at that for next year?
Yeah, once it comes out, it never comes back.
What is codification?
That's when we codify all the ordinances. They have to go into the municipal code. So they're all codified, and general code does that for us. And it's very expensive.
How much have we spent?
We've spent actually $8,715.
And the more legislation you pass, the higher the cost.
So why is the budget request under?
Because we spent $6,000 in the last couple months, so this was prior to entering in the request. And again, with ICC General Code Publishers, $6,650.
Well, we should really make that more reflective of what we spend instead of moving things around in the end.
So would you like, I'll increase this one?
I think so.
Okay.
What do you think?
You said to increase?
Yes.
If you've already spent over what you're requesting, we're
Right.
gonna need to move money eventually.
True.
We're pulling down from other accounts. Let's fit the
Yes.
money in there.
Correct.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yeah, I would agree to the extent possible. Let's clean this stuff up and have this budget reflect to the degree that we can the true expenses. It'll make it easier for us as we move forward.
Is there some way that codification can cost less?
No,
Because not all of,
absolutely not.
it has to be a certain entity that puts this up?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Okay.
And years ago, they used to buy books, the municipal code books for every department, which is a great expense, and we did away with that.
Mm-hmm.
So my department's the only department now that has the hard copy of it.
Ms. Carnival, can you estimate, given what our run rate is so far, I think it's somewhere a little bit north of $6,000. Can you estimate or project?
It depends on how much more legislation is passed throughout the year. Now, last year, we changed all of the ordinances because the fees went to resolution. So there was a greater cost. I don't think it's going to be as big a cost this year because it was literally almost every single ordinance we had to change and recodify and all of that. So I don't think we're going to get that high, but it really just depends on how much legislation is passed.
But already this year, you're saying we've spent 8,715,
That's what,
8,715 this year? But we haven't really changed that much.
No, you've done a lot of changes to ordinances
Yeah.
this year, yeah.
and remember, like the stormwater
Yeah,
or
that's what I mean,
huge.
yeah.
So it depends on that as well.
Okay. All right.
So is it the consensus that we just keep it the same?
No, I say
No.
that we increase it to reflect what, closer to what it's going to be.
Yeah, I would say increase it $5,000. Are you okay with 5,000? So going up to 10,100?
I would
And,
agree.
Yeah. That may be even under what we actually spend. We're pulling 6,000 from advertising.
Mhm.
So maybe make it 11,000.
So I'll make it. I'll do 6. How about I do 6? Increase the codification?
So the new number for codification is
$11,100.59.
Yeah, that's a good number.
yeah, I like the 59 cents.
Yeah.
Ms. Bennett.
Just one question, if you have the data, if you don't,
Mhm.
maybe you can get it. It's on the little higher up on.
Oh,
the-
sorry.
No, it's
Sorry.
okay. Taping, so 092.
Yeah.
Do you know how many meetings and do you know what the rate is?
So it looks like the average rate or the rate that occurs the most times is about $515. I think the standard rate is $475. And if it goes past a certain time, but if it goes past 11, that's when the additional fees go in. But if the meeting ends at 11 o'clock, it's $475 per meeting.
Right.
It's a rate per meeting.
Yes.
Correct. And there's, on average, 20 council meetings per year. And then whatever special meetings are called throughout the year, that's additional. Right now, we're on track for about 27 meetings so far.
Has there been any consideration on making that a part-time role?
No, we haven't made that a consideration right now because it was through a vendor, because in the past, we didn't do it as many times. It's been increased a little bit. And the last couple of years, I think, was it 2 years ago? I think we had something like 40 meetings between.
I don't think it was that many, but
It was-
it has increased over the
that was
years.
increased, so
Yeah.
getting a part-time person in here would be, we could look into it, but it was to see what we pay an hourly rate and everything else. That would be, we'd have to see what it would cost us.
I know Zoom moderators cost about $50, $50 to $75 an hour. I don't know how that changes the analysis, but, this is no statement about Mr. Fagan. This is just simply about the
Yeah,
money.
well, we would have to do it for next year anyway, because we have a contract now with the Zoom moderators for this year. So if we were to do any consideration, it'd be for the 2026 budget.
Right.
Right, and I think it's also beyond being a moderator. He also has to turn around the whole,
Right. So there's
The
the
whole recording, the
post-production work.
post-production.
Yeah.
okay. Moving on.
Council President, would you like to move on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Unless there's anybody else wants to talk about anything on the council budget. I think we can. Please.
Okay, Council President, this is central telephone. It's called central telephone, but I mean, it really also includes some internet service and the wireless, and we have an increase to this budget. We do not feel that there's any opportunity for a real cut to the overall budget. So it's going from $312,994.61 to $319,500. We spent 95% of the budget last year, or $297,000.
Okay, I have questions on this.
Yes, please.
All right, so I've reviewed all of the cell phone bills and we found several irregularities. and that was supposed to be pared down. So once the people who have been on it for a year and a half, who should not be on it, are removed, that should be a savings. Plus, we're getting rid of a lot of MiFi.
So-
Plus each phone should be assigned, and there shouldn't be all of these random phones all over the place. I don't understand why there shouldn't be a significant decrease rather than an increase.
So the increase comes from, with utilizing Municity, we're gonna be putting in 30 tablets. Each tablet is to be used in the field and will require either a cell phone for a hotspot connection or the MiFi individual hotspot. So that's, an additional 30 devices a month.
That's in addition to the cell phone, they have a tablet.
For those that don't have the cell phone, you can add, well, you have to add the hotspot plan to the cell phone. If you don't have a cell phone, you're going to get a hotspot as a township
The
employee
majority
with
of
a
the phones
tablet.
that we're purchasing now are going to have hotspots built into them, so we don't have to have a hotspot.
So we don't need the MiFis.
Well, we need MiFis for certain things, such as the police cars. There is a need for MiFis, not as much as Mr. Garcia has looked through. He's reducing some of the electronics that we need. He just recently completed an audit, and he's looking at where we can get rid of some of these. But in things such as the police cars and with the mobile data terminals and things of that nature, there's a need for certain electronics. We're becoming a paperless entity or a government, and with that we have to rely on electronics a little bit more. And with this Municity program, in order for our personnel to go out in the field, they have to have a tablet that's going to upload the information. That's going to be real-time information, and so that's what we're looking to do right now.
Okay, some of the people also have iPads. Are those being recalled? Are we having iPads, tablets, phones, MiFi?
So there's, like I said, additional iPads. Well, they're not iPads, they're tablets. They're like Samsung Galaxy tablets. So we're putting more of those out into the field for Municity. So
Do those tablets also have phone capability?
they don't. They're, I don't want to say they're cheap because nothing is cheap, but they don't have a built-in cell modem like an iPad would. These are like $200 tablets. So you have to pair them with a phone. I mean, just through June 9th, I don't have through June 17th, but through June 9th, we've spent about $160,000. So we're like pretty much halfway on the departmental wireless, the telephones.
When you say 160, is that just for,
That's everything. That's
okay.
everything.
So
Not
I'm
not
only-
just one
I'm
sub
only
account.
talking about wireless, and what I'm concerned about is that this should have been fully reviewed and each of the phones assigned. There are phones for people who are in buildings who don't need a phone. Why does everybody have a cell phone and a landline phone?
So I don't think I wouldn't say everybody has a phone. It's up to the department head to determine who has a phone. So in my office, nobody has a phone, with the exception of me. So it's not every employee gets a cell phone. If they're out in the field or they're expected to communicate after work hours, then they will probably get a phone. But for the majority of our office workers that, they would get OT if we were calling them after hours, we don't give them phones. But on the PD side and FD side, I'm sure the majority of our phones are there. DPW.
And all our inspectors, whether it be health,
The inspectors for
property maintenance.
UCC, property maintenance, health, our police cars that have the laptops have MiFis built in, so that's a charge for every single car with the computer in it.
How many MiFis are going to be eliminated?
I couldn't say.
I don't
think-
know. I don't understand why a police car needs a MiFi. Don't we have wireless all over?
No, they use a cell signal for the computer to do their lookups. It's a cell signal.
And also with the police vehicles, you gotta remember, there's another level of security as opposed to just somebody with a cell phone in their pocket or on their ear. So they're transmitting information that's not supposed to be out to the general public. So they have to have a more secure network.
What is the difference between the telephone service and the departmental wireless?
That's the Ring Central, right? The telephone service.
So that includes Ring Central, the Verizon trunk lines, so that's the hard lines. It includes block line systems, which is another voice over IP system. So I want to say hardwired but Ring Central really is voice over IP, but that's what our hardwired phones are, Ring Central. So with Ring Central on every employee's computer that has a phone, they can receive their phone calls on their computer. They can retrieve their voicemails on the computer. You could even send messages through the different Ring Central lines to each other. So like almost like a text messaging type thing. That's our hardwired. And then we have the Verizon trunk lines that we have to pay for on a monthly basis.
Is there any way to cut any of that?
Well, I will tell you this, the Ring Central contract expires the end of this year. I spoke to our IT director about that. So we're gonna have to go out soliciting bids for, I believe we're looking to do it at the end. We're gonna look to put the bid out probably sometime at the end of the summer. Doesn't mean we're gonna get rid of Ring Central, but we have to explore it.
Is for the Verizon trunk lines, there are companies, and I have to speak with Mauricio about this because he's been here a while. There are companies that will do audits. They're usually ex-Verizon employees. PSE&G, there's people that do it for PSE&G as well. Again, usually ex-PSE&G employees, and they will audit the bills and they go back, 1 to 2 years, and they can look for, lines that we could potentially cancel. And then they get paid based on the savings. So if they don't find anything, they don't get paid. I'll ask Mauricio when the last time something like that was done. Because that can yield a savings that continues on because you'll end up getting rid of trunk lines, or they can tell us, how to reconfigure and save money. So I will definitely bring that up to him. And
Is there a policy that phones get turned in when somebody no longer works here?
I would imagine, if I had anybody in my office that had a phone and they quit, I would want their phone and their computer and their keys and, all those sorts of things before.
Policy.
Yeah.
So how did we not know that 3 people who were deceased we were still paying for their
It was
phones?
an oversight. Mr. Garcia rectified it. He's turned them off. He's taken care of it.
Well, where are those phones?
I'm assuming he collected them. I don't know. The phones are turned off. I don't know where exactly they are.
They were turned off like within the month?
What he told me, yes, they turned them off. I don't know if they were recycled or not. I can't answer that question.
Okay, so it doesn't seem like there's a policy to get back phones.
There is a policy.
Okay.
There's a policy to return equipment. When every employee retires, they have to turn in their equipment, whatever was issued to them. It could be, a badge. It could be a pair of boots. It could be a construction helmet. Could be a
Right, but
vest.
if they're deceased, then there has to be a policy as well.
When they die, we'll figure it out.
Well, if I may suggest, just so we can move on, and again, Councilwoman, you're raising good points.
Yeah,
Could you get the policy and just send it to the council when you get a chance?
absolutely.
And then also, if you could check with Mr. Garcia and just
Yep.
what the
I'm
status. of
pretty
the three-
sure that we accounted for those,
Okay.
those three people.
That's fine. It just, I think Councilwoman Rudin is,
No, we-
looking for data.
Yep.
Council President, just, it, just from the Citizen Budget Advisory Board perspective, it isn't just the fact that the individuals were deceased, they were no longer employed with the township. And so I think that's a concern, just a concern, and just making sure that that waste, since we're obligated not to waste the taxpayers' money, is accounted for.
Well, I think my request to Mr. Smeraldo should cover that, in terms of, we can see what the policy is and we can see what the status of the three phones that they were discussing. I'm just, trying to move on. Any other questions?
Yes, the
Comments?
data lines. I'm sorry, that's not carrying through. The maintenance, communication equipment, has anything been spent to date?
No, Councilwoman, nothing has been spent on maintenance communication equipment, so. If you'd like, we could zero that out. We'll do that on our end.
Okay, thank you.
Council President, just one other question. I'm sorry. I'm,
Yes, I'm sorry. I am trying to watch you. The laptop is sort of blocking.
no, you don't need to,
blocking
I'm not
the-
putting my hand up.
Okay.
I'm speaking up when everyone else is finished, but I'm apologizing because I said I was finished, but I noticed that there's another board member who asked a question. So I just want to make sure that, I believe it's your appointee's question gets asked. Do we put out our own bids, or do we use the state's database of goods and services? Is one less expensive than the other, if you know?
So we do both. Yeah. I think for Ring Central, it's our own bid. But where we can use the state contract or a national co-op or, any of the sort of local co-ops, we use that. A lot of times municipalities will use the company SHI, because SHI has the state contract, and it's easier from a purchasing perspective to just go through SHI as a state contract and then get different services, technological services. The one thing with SHI, and you sort of have to balance it, is that, they're going to charge for that ease of purchasing. And so, they're going to hit you with a 5 to 10%, profit margin fee on there. So, I'm mindful of that. I don't want to just use SHI if it's going to make it easy. But we do use SHI, and we've done it in the past, and we probably will continue to do it, but case by case basis.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Jeniak, does SHI and its competitors, do they actually give you an excess charge? Do you see that it's 5 or 7?
They do, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, so
They do.
because they're required to give us the price for this goods or service that they've agreed with the state and the state's reviewed. But then they also add whatever okay.
Yeah, and they don't hide it. I'm sure that's what they've worked out, is that they have to show it, but yeah, they're getting a taste. It's like, it's very New Jersey type thing.
So you have to sort of, before you go into this, you have to figure in that whether the bidding might undercut whatever
Yeah.
SHI is offering.
Right.
In addition to their profit.
Right, because it's not just that state contract price when you're going through them, yeah.
Right. Councilwoman.
Do we have a policy that if somebody no longer works for the township, that they are no longer entitled to a phone?
I mean, I would want to just say yes, but I don't know if that is codified in our employee handbook. So,
To answer that, we don't have a policy that specifically says an employee gets a retired employee gets a phone. To my knowledge, not one employee has ever received a phone into retirement. They do have the option of retaining that number. We had some people who had that number issued to them in other municipalities that came in and they took it from that municipality here and then retired. You can do that, but it's not something that we pay for. We don't maintain their phone lines once they retire.
Okay,
And that's part of, I believe, I can't say for certainty, but I believe that's part of the equipment policy, returning it in. So to my knowledge right now, I could say with almost certainty, there's nobody that we pay for retired phones for.
okay. So if we found out that there was somebody who is no longer employed by West Orange, who is still receiving a phone and still we are paying for their phone, would we request that there be reimbursement for that phone?
Absolutely.
Okay, can I request reimbursement from Mr. Lepore for the phone that he had a line assigned to him?
We'll look into it.
Councilwoman Scarpa.
Yes, I've kind of talked about this before, but I work for the schools and we're asked to use a certain catalog and the prices are like through the roof that I don't even buy anything because I can't justify paying 3 times the price. And I think that, I'm hearing some of this is kind of similar with some of these other, state contracts and SHIs. My question to Mr. Detiniak is, I think we need to better manage this area and these telecom costs. Are there consultants who specialize in with municipalities that could manage that cost or take a look at it?
Yes, Councilwoman, there are companies out there, and what's great about it is that, they're going to get paid based on the savings that they find us.
That's how I
and-
got paid.
Yeah. And the savings are long-term because it's not like, oh, we found a mistake in your February 2024 bill and now you're going to get like a couple $100 back. They're usually, we're going to eliminate lines or reconfigure trunk lines. And so the savings can continue on, hopefully ad infinitum. So I will speak with Mr. Garcia, our IT director, and find out when was the last time an audit was done for the township. We might be ripe for one, and we can bring in a company. Again, they're not going to get paid unless they find savings, and we would obviously have to agree with whatever savings they bring us before we pay them. But it's a good exercise. It should be done every few years. And we will definitely look to do that. Regarding, Ring Central, which is, basically our landline service. Our contract is expiring and we're going to go out and look for, something that is more effective and more cost efficient. I have to imagine that, as the years go on, there's more competition in the voice over IP field and, we should hopefully have a bigger pool from which to pull from. And, the economic thought process is that when you have a bigger pool, you're going to get better prices. So we are going to look at that and hopefully we come back with something that is going to save us significant dollars. So.
Right. I would like to see that happen because I used to do that for a living. And I know that there's people who could do that probably very well.
Yeah, they're usually ex-Verizon employees or, utility employees. They've been there for a million years. They know all the tricks. They know all the, the sort of like pitfalls that municipalities and big customers get into, and you just sort of keep spending and spending and spending and you don't even realize it. So.
Okay, great. Let's get right on that.
I will talk to Mr. Garcia and when we can look to start that process as soon as possible, as long as, we haven't done it recently.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Rudin?
I'm done. Thank you.
So just to recap, we are going to reduce the maintenance, communication, and equipment by 1,500. Is there anything else from the council or the Citizens Budget Advisory Board? Move on. Okay, this is central mailing. The majority of this is our postage meter. We have a slight increase for the year.
What?
We spend a lot in postage and it only gets more expensive, so we're requesting that we maintain our budget request. But if you'd like to discuss, we obviously can discuss.
I'm confused about the department wireless.
Oh, we're going back. Okay.
No, it's on this budget as well. Another $118,000 for departmental wireless.
Okay, we were just looking at central mailing. Are you saying we need? to
Oh,
go
I'm
back?
sorry. I'm sorry. It's a duplicate.
Oh, is there a
Duplicate page. Yeah, sorry.
Really?
Okay.
We'll,
It's just a
we'll-
test.
We'll pull that off of the
It was
website.
just a test.
Okay.
So we're still on central mailing.
Central mailing, yes. So, we're asking for $108,350. We spent $101,000 last year. If you'd like to discuss, we're open to discussing.
What have you spent so far in postage meter usage?
Let me just pull that up. Apologize. So we've spent so far, 40,000.
Okay, and we have the third quarter mailing to go out?
Right.
Is there any other major
And-
mailing?
And the fourth quarter, along with, first and second of 2026.
How much is each mailing?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can get that for you from the collector.
Okay, so if we spent 40 and we're halfway through, doesn't it seem like it should be 80 instead of 105?
Well, we have two big mailings coming up. So we have the Q3 and the Q4.
Mhm.
So, we put postage onto the machine, so we do it in bulk. So I can see, we added $25,000 worth of postage on this day, and then we add, $15,000 of postage on this day. But I will get from the collector the actual cost of mailing out the Q3 tax bill and the Q4 tax bill for you.
Okay, I'd like to see that reduced. And I also just want to follow up on my question from last week. I had asked if in the Q3 mailing, whether or not there's going to be any information regarding our tree ordinance.
So I spoke to the mayor's office and the mayor, so we're gonna put a letter together and we're gonna put it out there, and it's gonna include that we did have a correspondence in email clarified, so we're gonna put the links in there. So I did speak to the mayor's office, and so we're gonna be putting something together. It has to be submitted by June 25th, I believe which is next week. So
Yeah, I was just asking for one sentence, not with links, because links are hard when you're sending
well,
somebody
we would
hard
put the
copy.
sentence, and we would normally we like to put the links because some people actually, believe it or not, look at it. So
Okay,
but we will make
all
sure
right.
that they know.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for getting that done. I appreciate it. So, I mean, I kind of see a savings there, so I'd like to make a suggestion to reduce that.
What line item are you talking about? This one?
110.
Thank you.
We're halfway through. We've spent 40. We have 2 more big mailings to go out. It doesn't seem like we're going to hit 105.
Well, it sounds
President-
like you've asked for research to find out what the cost of these 2 mailings are going to be. And maybe that's good information we should use to come to perhaps a more informed number. Does that sound like a way forward, or do you think?
Yeah,
We should cut it now?
I think we should cut it and also get the information. So I'm suggesting cutting it by at least 15.
Council President, just a question from the board. Can we offer residents the option of receiving tax bills electronically?
I think we do have that option, but I believe we have to mail out tax bills by state statute. But we do have the option of receiving bills electronically. I think if you go on the website, you can sign up for that. But I believe statutorily, we still have to mail them out.
So you're talking about what's in place now is a belt and suspenders? They can get them digitally, but they're still going to get them in the mail?
Yeah, I think we have to mail tax bills out. Like if you had a water sewer utility, you don't have to mail those out. You can just provide those electronically, but I believe with tax bills, you have to mail them. I'll check with the collector though.
I have to say that I am uncomfortable with cutting the budget request substantially below what we paid last year, given Mr. Detiniak's observation is that the cost, the per piece cost tends to go up every year. And even if we just repeated what we did last year, it's going to be more than 99,000 unless there's additional information as to what's different from this year compared with last year.
You also got to remember too, that there's other departments that have mailings too, like recreation, police and things of that nature. Sometimes they do events. We don't know what they're going to be sending out. There could be stuff for the seniors. It could be, it could be anything. So we're just, I don't know what the exact number is, but we can look at what that would be. So before we make a dramatic cut, I would like to at least find out what they anticipate for the other departments.
I'm not suggesting cutting it lower than what was used last year. I'm suggesting increasing that, but cutting it from the request, from the budget request. In 2024, they paid 74,000. This year they're asking for 105.
Well, we budgeted 74,000.
You budgeted 74,000, spent 99,000
Yeah.
last year. So we were well over budget last year. And I thought what you were suggesting was somewhere below,
So
significantly below 99,000. And that's why
there was a lot of mailing supplies last year budgeted. So I took that out and put it into the postage meter usage to more accurately reflect what the real spend is for that account. So
good idea.
I will, if you want me to put the decrease in there so that when we do go back in a future meeting and vote, it's at least there for you guys. My request was that we leave this particular line item alone. But I just want to have it noted so that, this is something that you brought up that you'll be able to vote on.
Okay, my request would be then to lower it by 5,000.
Okay.
And just be sure to flag it so that
If that's out of line.
we pay attention to.
Yes. And we'll ask the collector about what each particular big tax mailing costs.
Yeah, and if there are any other mailings that are substantial, I know when Parks was in here, they were talking about sending out a mailing. We were talking about the potential to get advertising on that before I heard that the card was like up 8.5 by 11
tiny.
or something. Not even that big, but
We did research into if there's a potential for advertising on a tax bill. There's not, because there's some situation that happened in the past where it's basically putting the township seal of approval on a vendor, and we can't do anything like that. So it's one of the reasons why if you see like a neighboring community's newsletter, for instance, it's not sent out by the town, it's sent out by a separate third party that then can do the fundraising because it doesn't come from the actual township.
Councilwoman Scarpa.
I think the question was answered, but I would just wanted to ask Mr. Detinia, can we accurately quantify that cost so that we can put a real number in there? Is that something we can actually estimate fairly accurately?
We can with the tax and the big sewer billing, we can give a good estimate on that, based on line items and all that,
Okay.
but we'll try to look at on the meter itself, what we've
Mhm.
spent. Because it's not like the meter starts with zero postage, excuse me. At the beginning of the year, there's leftover postage. So it's probably a good idea to see how many or how much money we've spent,
Mhm.
starting 1/1/2025 to,
Okay.
whenever today, to see how much we've actually spent in postage. Because as Mr. Smaraldo said, other departments are sending out mailings. Nothing as big as our tax and sewer mailing, but, we have other mailings that we do. So we'll see what we've actually spent year to date in terms of mailing, because again, we're starting the year with postage on that machine.
And
Okay,
even,
great.
and even something such as like, I could tell you like the Section 8 housing. We went to a new electronic system whereby now we're emailing a lot of things to our participants. But there are still some that have to, receive paper, but we're trying to cut down on those costs by doing things electronically. But but when the prices still go up from the post office, they've increased the price this year, I think, again. So we're trying to cut down in certain areas where we are going paperless, but at the end of the day, as Mr. Titaniak said, we have to send out tax bills. There's certain things that we're just going to be governed by.
Yeah, on the Section 8 landlord payments, we don't even cut physical checks anymore. We ACH all that money
Yeah,
now.
we
and-
eliminated that, so there's no more, we don't even buy the checks anymore, so we saving that cost. We don't send the packages out like we used to. Anybody who comes in now has to use a portal, so we're saving on that kind of stuff. So we've made some savings that way, but there's still other things, like you say, the recreation department, they come up with an event for all the kids in school. Now that becomes an expense, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilwoman, are you finished with this subject?
Yes.
Okay, we can move on. Thank you.
So now I want to talk about information technology. So looking at the request, again, not looking so much at the individuals. There is an offset of $10,000. That's because we have a department head in a different department that assists with IT and website design. So part of his salary, it's not an additional money, but part of his salary is charged to the IT budget instead of just to the Board of Health. So it's not additional money. It's just how it's allocated to the department. The rest of the two other employees are non-union. Again, we talked about the increases for the year. The 1.5 on 1/1/24, the 1.5 on 7/1/2024, and then the 3% on 1/1/2025. So I will go to my other sheet here.
1 second. Is this longevity every single year?
Yeah, so the way longevity works is, again, it's a program that's non-union members do not get longevity anymore. So someone new like me, I don't qualify for the longevity program. So this particular employee, because of when he started, he got longevity. So every 5 years, you go up a percentage. So if we have someone with the same title and they don't have longevity, their base salary is $100,000. That's what they get. But someone with a longevity of 10%, you take the base salary and then you tack on 10%. So they
Every
get,
single year?
Mhm. It's always a multiplier to their
So
salary.
that's a $16,000 increase in 1 year for one
Not an
employee?
increase, it's part of the salary. It's part of the salary, so it's like always in effect. So as the base salary goes up, you keep applying the 10% longevity. So if someone doesn't have longevity and they get a 3% raise, they get a 3% raise. But someone who has longevity, the effective raise is greater than 3%. Again, because the longevity is multiplying on the base.
Is there any way to rein that in?
So it was eliminated for all non-union employees, and I don't know the date that it was eliminated. It was eliminated for
It was
AFSCME.
prior to 2009, because I don't
Okay.
have it.
So AFSCME, union does not have it anymore. Does fire still?
Fire, police and fire still have.
They still have it. It's. Oh, sorry. I was gonna go to the,
Okay.
And not everybody receives 10% when it goes to the increments traditionally in the longevity is 2% every 5 years, with the exception of the 24th year. Because in the police and fire service, when you're in the pension system, the pension is based on your last 12 months of service. So the contracts read that the 10% kicks in on the 24th year, so that when they get to 25, in theory, they could have that extra money into its pension. In the PERS positions, their pension is based on their best 3 years. But with these newer employees, or the employees from prior to 2009, I don't remember what year it was, they eliminated it, but they don't get this longevity into their salary or into their pension.
So once somebody has passed their 24th year, they get 10% increase every year?
No, they
No.
get 10%. They get just a 10% longevity stipend that's added on.
so.
At the 24th year?
That's 20
Yeah.
At 10%.
And so they've been getting longevity. So it's you basically tack it on. So again, if your base salary is $100,000 and you're in the longevity program, tack on whatever longevity percentage you are. Someone that's at 10% because they've been here 25 years or more, their actual salary is going to be 110,000. So it was eliminated for the unrepresented because it was easier to do. But it's still in effect for our, police and fire unions, and they have collective bargaining agreements, and, it's going to take, being truly honest, it's going to take, we're going to have to buy it to get rid of it. Because it's a good benefit to have if you're in the police and fire union, because it's increasing your salary. But for new employees like myself, I don't qualify for the longevity program. I don't qualify for lifetime health benefits in retirement. And even my pension tier is based on, the average of the last 5 years, unlike tier 1. And it's also a lower amount that I qualify for pensionable base. So, and it's a different calculation. So, things have been done at the state level, things are done at the local level, to try to rein the legacy costs in.
Council President, this
Yes.
might be
Please.
as good a time as any. If you're not the right people to ask, I can ask this question elsewhere, but, are there any policies precluding outside employment? If you know.
So I don't know if we have anything in our handbook.
I believe we do.
We do? Okay. I should know that then.
Does it preclude or does it require notification of outside employment, if you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know it's in the handbook. And-
We can provide a copy, just
Yeah.
so we're not, so we're gonna need we'll get provided that one and along with the equipment. We'll provide the copies.
One other question. Are there any policies or preclusions from working another job at the exact same time that you are on the clock for the Township of West Orange? If you know.
There's no policy that I'm aware of that does that, which is at the same time, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be doing your job and you're supposed to be filling out your obligation per hour, but I don't know we don't have anything that specifically precludes that.
Okay, so a full-time employee being paid a full-time salary by the Township of West Orange should not be employed full-time somewhere else. Same hours.
I don't believe so, but I don't have that answer, specific answer.
Thank you. I'll share the information privately with you later.
So just looking at the comparison to 2024, the increase, and again, this is why I brought it up, when there's longevity in place and you have a COLA increase like we did where it's essentially 6%, you're going to get a little bit more of an increase because again, the longevity is going to apply to the base salary. So we have an increase of 6.26% year over year of $19,100.36. And that's due to the COLA increases from 2024 and 2025. Can I move into OE? Is that okay?
Yes, any more questions on this page? On the salary and wage? We can move on? Please, go ahead.
The one thing I do want to add is in the packet that we're going to make available to the public, we added in a section to each page to say when the hearing date was that this particular item was reviewed, if there was a revision, and then when we vote, we'll put in, not when we vote, when you vote, we'll put in the date that you voted for each page. So that, we're keeping track of the changes and when you've actually approved a page. So figure I'm bringing that up now.
Immensely helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so the first IT department that we're going to start with is, because there's a few of them, it's central IT, other expenses.
What is central IT, Mr. Zinniak? You were hoping I wasn't going to ask.
Like, please don't ask me that.
It's in the middle.
So rather than applying IT, because everybody uses some sort of IT services, rather than allocating them to the different departments, we've chose the township, and it's not me, this was done way before me, has chosen to say, this benefits everyone. Let's put it in its own category. But then at the same time, we have central IT specifically for PD and central IT specifically for FD. So, we still, broke it out for different departments. But that was, I think, the intent was to say that this benefits every single department. Let's keep it as its own, profit center. So.
Okay, so that said, what's the run rate so far and why does it seem to need to go up, I don't know, 7 or 8%?
So we're requesting an increase of 2%. And I'm going to bring that up right now.
Well, 114 from 107 or
Oh,
108.
even from the paid or charged. Okay, I understand. So, I mean, we have a lot of different services in here. Different remote access services, we have Zoom, we have copier software on here. But our total spend so far is $64,109. And that's through June 9th.
So at that run rate, we're likely to exceed it.
Well, no, because we have some of like the microcomputer consulting group. We have, an amount encumbered for 9 months in here. So I think we'll be fine with the 114. I'll do the math and see if maybe we could shave a couple $1,000s off of this. I just wanted to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm still confused because we have IT and then we have other IT, then we have fire IT and police.
Yeah, we're going to go through all of those individually. Police, I will say police have a lot of their own systems because they need specific firewalls, they need specific email management, things with the body cam footage. They're more unique in terms of their IT needs than we are here.
Right. Other than police and fire, which are very specialized, why isn't everything just together?
I think there's only one other, there's the online expense, which we'll go through, and then,
And then there's the
non-uniform.
IT.
I can't answer why they put this into place years ago. We have an opportunity to change it for when we go to Edmonds. And if it makes more sense to combine certain things, we'll do that. I don't know why Mr. Gross, he had a specific reason, I guess, that he wanted to separate these things out. But I don't know why he did, and I'm not opposed to changing it for next year. Again, if it's going to give the public and the governing body better information to have things spread out differently or to have them combined, I'm all for that.
Yes, I think it should be combined, except for the specialized departments.
The only thing is that, then you have to dig in if you said, well, what are we really spending on police? And that could be why Mr. Gross did this years ago. He might have gotten a question from the dais and said, well, how much are you spending for police? How much do you spend for fire? And he said, I'll break it out.
No, I think police
Yeah.
and fire should be.
Oh, you want to
separate.
leave that, but
Yeah.
just combine the other expense,
Yes.
the online expense and the non-uniform. I'll speak to Mauricio about that.
Then get a better breakdown of what is involved here, because we're just looking at one number without an understanding of what's actually being paid for.
Right. So I will say just going through, we pay for Munidex. We pay for the remote, desktop software. We pay for Zoom. And then we pay for, IT services. IT Joe, referred to. That's a consultant that we use. He's part of this.
Yeah, just in budgeting though, the bigger your cost center, the less detail you can pull out from that. So
Yeah.
we need to be a little careful so that we can see some of these individual numbers.
I agree. The only thing is though with Edmonds is that within the cost center, you have the ability to assign tracking IDs.
Oh,
So that, you could have tracking IDs that go across different accounts. So I've used it in the past for sort of like a big operation where, maybe recreation is contributing and finance has a piece of it. And then you would just run the tracking and you could say the total project cost X amount of dollars. And it's not so dependent on, did I run the activity for these particular accounts? So that's one of the advantages that we would have over Munidex is that we can assign those tracking IDs. So, we could say, run a tracking ID, we would assign a tracking ID for IT services across, PD, FD, and this combined, and we could get, one report based on that. So,
Yeah, and you could get real usage and costs,
yeah.
actual.
So I agree. Having just the 010 IT services as a catch-all is a little bit difficult. So we'll look to break things out.
Is it possible to do that when you update this? When you put this on the update, to bring all three together and then just give us a breakdown of what you're paying in each category?
I can do that when I come back to you, if you'd like. I'll have to sort of create some dummy accounts, but maybe we can better. I say dummy accounts is because they don't exist in Munidex, but Mauricio and I can add some accounts and give some better detail, and break out the ask of the 114 if you prefer that.
Would it be possible to do all your IT expenses on one page that are broken out by, and maybe this is what you're saying, and I'm just thinking.
That's what I'm asking for.
But including the police and fire, all of it on one page, but just different line items for the different. That way the actual costs of IT are all on one page.
Yeah, we could do that.
That's a good
We could
idea.
do that. I mean, I would want to, just for the council's sake, probably add some lines to here and for all the other ones. And I'll see if we can do some more uniform lines. So maybe it's like 5 sub-accounts and, we could list them all, and say, this is the sub-accounts for PD, but put it all in one. I think I understand what you're looking for, and we can definitely do that.
You think you could do IT with 5 sub-accounts?
I mean, I'm giving an example.
Okay, because I don't see that. There's so many different pieces.
I mean, for
IT
each
service
one of
entity,
these, yeah.
Just, 15 or 20. Would probably.
I mean, we'll see, like, what I can get from Mauricio, but we can combine the IT, for all, just so it's easier to sort of evaluate. Being mindful of still maintaining what is PD, what is FD, what is everything else. So if you want to sort of punt on,
No, I need to call in the cavalry. Councilwoman Scarpa, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines as you guys. My question is, how do other municipalities do it? Do they have this central situation too, IT? And is this, I'd like to see these costs allocated to the specific places to the extent that we can, even if we need a consultant to help us do that. And who is IT Joe? What is he paid and how many hours does he work?
so other municipalities, I've seen it done where, because police usually ends up being either the highest or the second highest for IT, they keep it in the police OE budget. And, it's possible that it was broken out so that it didn't look like it inflated the PD budget back then. And then I've just seen municipalities where central IT is one line item in a budget, in the legal budget document. But, I've never seen it the way we do it, where there's 5 different in the legal budget document, because it is broken out, in the legal budget document this way. So like I said, usually I see it just as a separate OE item within PD. So
What is your recommendation of the most effective way to do it?
it's really what we want to show the public, right? Because the public will look at our legal budget document and, we have to decide as a group, or you have to decide as a group, do you want the public to have a greater level of detail? Now, it's a legal budget document. It's not a it's not like a sub-account level of detail, but if you feel that telling them this is what IT really costs our police department, then maybe that's valuable to you to have that broken out. Or if you don't feel like that's valuable, and you just want to say, hey, IT costs the town, $800,000 in total, then you would just leave it as one line. It's
Yeah, I think I'd
truly,
like to see it allocated to the extent possible.
so I think just for coming back for a vote, we can put everything in for
Blast off.
terrible sound. We can put the document together to combine all the IT while still maintaining what is PD, what is FD, and provide a better level of detail. I'm gonna have to work with Mauricio on that. But I can come back to you on the 26th with, not just a 010 IT services account. We'll really try to break
Mhm.
that down to a more granular level. And, hopefully that will make your job a little bit easier in terms of the sub accounts that you want to look at.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just the way that's set up, Mr. Deteniak, it avoids the obvious. I mean, my count was $750,000, but you're at 800,000. I think you don't recognize the gravity of that when it's broken up into 5 pages. But together, looking at the sum total on an IT spend,
Sure, I agree with you. I'm not gonna deny that it spreads it out, and it also doesn't add to individual departments. Like we said, it doesn't add to the PD's OE. So, but again, I think it's up to all of us to decide, how do we want to show it in the legal budget document? Because the public is going to look at that. But let me just write a note for myself. And
Oh, can I just ask about IT Joe, our consultant, who that is and what he's paid and how many hours we use him?
so I don't have the exact number of hours that that IT Joe
Joe
Pilara. I shouldn't have said IT Joe, but Mr. Pilara works, but I can speak to Mauricio about that and get sort of his schedule. And
It's actually, we have a contract with MCG, consultants or whatever. I don't know the full name, but they're out of New York City.
yeah, microcomputer consultant.
Microcomputer, and he is a contract employee with them. He reports here
Tuesdays.
1 day a week, which is typically a Tuesday. He's here for, I believe, the entire day. But also their services are remote and they provide services. It's not just on-site services, it's also off-site services. They cover for, say, when our other staff are out, they can come in and remotely and provide service to us. So their services are not only just providing computer support, they also maintain our firewalls, they maintain all our requirements that we have through government. We have one of the higher ratings through our JIF, all the municipalities in our particular JIF. I think it's 33 municipalities now. We've maintained the highest rating on our security, and they're part of that plan.
Can we get some numbers on what they've been paid to date and what the contract looks like?
Sure, yeah, we could do that. We could do a
Thank you.
vendor history for MCG.
Yeah, he's not just a part-time employee, like as if we were trying to say supplement. We just spoke previously about the building department. This is more a comprehensive service. If he's not here, they also send somebody else. They're contracted to send an employee here once a week.
How long have we been working with them?
They've been here a very long time. I would say at least back to the early 2010s, if not earlier than that. They've helped develop our system and build our system up. We can find that information out when they started. I don't honestly, they've been here so long, I couldn't tell you what the start date was.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Tiniak, are you still scribbling or?
No, I was waiting for council.
Oh. Would we like to take a 5-minute break at this point? I realize we're half an hour away from ending, but we're not going to be doing anything. So let's be back here at 7:32, please.
In your emails, I'm not retiring. You're retiring. Oh my God.
Let's not go live till we get Mr. Siniak back here.
Welcome back, West Orange. We were on short break. There was nothing wrong with your computer. I am turning the floor over to our council president.
Who in turn will turn it over to our chief financial officer.
Thank you. So I think where we left off, we were at central IT other expense. I think I've explained now. Try to redo how we request this budget in terms of the level of detail. So, you know, I'll briefly talk about central IT online expense, but I think we have to come back to it, but you know, we are putting in a $15,000 decrease here, but again, we'll spell out in more detail what online IT services is. Same with the PD, even though we're putting in a $42,000 decrease on the police department IT. But again, we'll come back with more detail. Same thing with FD. We have $2,500 decrease, but we'll come back with the better level of detail. And same thing with the non-uniform. So we'll come back on the 26th for these.
Okay, you, last year it was 287,000 that was spent. How much has been spent to date?
I'm sorry, Councilwoman, where are you now?
This is on the central IT PD expense.
Please go ahead. Just wanted to know where we were. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so we have spent so far this year $198,000.
Is there any explanation about why we would be spending over $200,000 more?
Well, I mean, we're halfway through. We've spent 198,000. And some of these costs are monthly. But we'll come back with a more detailed ask. And then we can go from there.
Okay. I'd like to make a recommendation that come down to double that amount that has been spent. And that in itself is generous, in my opinion. So bring it down to 396.
I might suggest that you get a breakout to understand
Exactly, yes.
how that large number, because if 287 was actually spent last year, you might be very generous.
Very generous.
But the point that you're making, Ms. Bennett, is that we don't have that information yet. So
Right.
I'm not inclined to reduce this until we get all of the information and can make a better
Okay.
informed decision.
And hopefully
We'll
not.
still,
Right.
we'll still reduce it if the council believes that that's the right way to go, but we're kind of blind right now.
Of
So,
course, it's just hard to approve. Hopefully you're not inclined to approve or reduce until you know.
We need to know.
I think that's what you said.
you just said it better, that's all.
Okay.
Are there any other categories that you want to know the current spend on, or?
Yes, the current
Okay.
spend on the fire department.
Sure.
And something I just realized we're not doing is when we move from one department to another, we're not giving page numbers. So if there's anybody who has actually accessed these digitally from the council, from the township website, we're losing an opportunity to tell them where to go.
Oh, so we're on page 10
Thank you.
right now for central IT FD expenses, and we have spent to date $9,000.
Okay.
So just to clarify, for my own purposes, if not for everyone else. So we spent $10,200 last year
Correct.
for the entire year, and so far this year for the fire, we've spent over $9,000.
Correct.
Okay. And you can't really tell us why that might be. Sounds like Mr. Garcia's gotten away with a certain amount of felonies by not
So-
being here. So maybe you bring him
So
next time, please.
So I'm gonna say, just looking at the way the POs have been booked, we could cut this budget even further. Because it looks like we've encumbered for the full year for the PASCAC Data Services, Inc. So I think we can leave this at $9,000
Mhm.
and
That include the only thing I don't know is, with them, we may want to find out, it won't be the full amount, but, I believe some of the, charges for like, the on-board, like, medical equipment may need, when they report to, the EMS provider, insurance provider. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now.
Yeah, for Coronas, yeah.
Health, for Corona's Health. So I don't know if that's the only thing I would suggest, because what happens is our firefighters, when they get to the hospital, they have the ability with their iPads and things of that nature. They can actually instantly load, the patient bill to Corona's Health, who can start the billing process to recuperate some of the money. So
It-
we may want to just make sure that that's not included in that, that's all. And I don't think that's expensive, but.
okay. I'll note that.
It
Miss-
may be included in the service, but I just want to make sure it's not, we're not shorting ourselves.
Not to go backwards, Mr. Deteniak, but just understanding IT budgets are, I think most of the time you pay for much of the service early in the year.
So we try to encumber the majority of our, when we know we have a contract or a set amount, we do try to encumber it. So I think we've done that for PASCAC data, but if there is anything additional, I should ask the chief before I go ahead and make an additional cut. So I'll do that, but
Both-
I still think that there's an opportunity there.
Both police and fire, and I think we should resist the urge in thinking, so if we're halfway through and this is how much we spent, that the other half will spend an equal amount, because that may not be true. Much of the budget may have already been spent, and so therefore there might be extra, and I think it's important to have actual information.
Yes.
Yeah, so where we can identify like recurring monthly costs that are not encumbered, then,
Right.
we'll obviously have to project that out. But yeah, in the case where we've encumbered for the year, if it's $25,000 for the full year and we've already encumbered it and it's part of the paid or charge, then, it's not gonna increase. That's it for the year. So I understand what you mean. Definitely.
Can we jump to non-uniformed
Sure.
and wondering why you're requesting an $11,000 increase?
Sure. So
What page are we
we're gonna,
talking about?
yep, we're gonna be going to page 11, for those looking at home. Central IT non-uniform expenses.
I'm sorry, I don't know if I stepped on you, but if you could repeat, Councilwoman.
My question was why is this department requesting an $11,000 increase?
So this is not an increase over budgeted. This is an increase over what was spent.
Correct.
And so. So the majority of this is for our Fovionics, which is that image retention system that we talked about. and we actually do, we have some other systems like our Munidex system, the actual ERP software is charged here. What else do we have? It's mostly Munidex, Fovionics, and oh, our new Municity system is charged here as well. So we're actually,
And Mitchell Humphreys, no? Are they in there too?
Mitchell Humphreys is not charged here. We have the Arbor Pro software charged here, Municity and Fovionics. We're gonna spend this entire budget. So we're actually overexpended. We're at 61,720. 61,720.99 with everything encumbered for the year. So I'm actually gonna need to increase this by a couple $100.
Couple hundred or couple
Yeah,
thousand?
no, a couple hundred.
So can we make this accurate?
Yeah, yeah, we just booked the Fovionics, so, I mean, not the Fovionics, we just booked the Municity recently, so that's what brought us up to the 61. So I will make a note to increase this a couple $100.
So are you looking to increase to 62?
I was gonna bring it up to the 61,720, but I could
Okay.
bring it up to
That's
62.
okay.
I mean, because I think everything is encumbered here that we need
Okay.
for the year, so like, they're not recurring monthly fees in this one.
All right.
So. Mr. Deteniak, just a
Yes.
comment. I'm Council President, just very as quickly as I can. I just took the opportunity to look through what was handed out tonight.
Mhm.
And I just want to point out that something that you mentioned in previous meetings, so I
Mhm.
just took a look at it really quickly.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it quickly. Central IT online expenses,
Sure.
2024 budget. 28% of what was budgeted was actually used.
Right,
Next page, central IT PD expenses,
right.
63% was actually used.
Mhm.
Next page, central IT fire department expenses, 59% was actually used.
Right.
Central IT non-uniform expenses, 82% was actually used.
Mhm.
If you look at the remainder of what you handed out tonight, you're in the 90 to 97% of what was budgeted was actually used.
Mhm.
So this seems like the place where there's a lot of opportunity to save the taxpayers some money.
Yeah, well, I think when we go through the exercise of breaking them out, we can better start to cut on the sub accounts.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to acknowledge, you had already begun the process of
We
doing
did,
it tonight,
we
right?
did some
We probably still have more to go, but
beginner cuts and we'll see. Hopefully there's more room.
yes. So Councilwoman, you have a hard stop at 8, so is there anywhere else that you'd like to go, particularly before we close the meeting tonight? Or you want to just
Just
continue
go-
on?
Continue on.
Plow ahead, Mr. Tiniak, please.
So yeah, I'll try to do some, maybe let's pick. We'll do comptroller, yeah. So we're gonna do comptroller, it's page 12. So this is the S&W ask for comptroller. So it's $443,287. There's no longevity, there's no OT. This is base pay. And if I pull up the prior year. There's actually a decrease in the budgeted salaries and wages of $34,496.60 or 7.22%. So, we have a decrease in salaries and wages for Division of Accounts and Controls versus last year. So that's, because of differences in salary and, that's why we have the savings there. So. One of the few S&Ws where we have a savings.
And that is because Mr. Gross was making more
More,
than you?
yeah. Mhm. If, oh, I apologize, I'm going to the wrong spot. If I go into the comptroller OE budget, we're requesting a reduction of 14,000. So now the budget is up. But I explained that we're purchasing a new payroll system. So we have an initial acquisition fee and conversion fee. And then we also have the initial conversion to Edmunds. This budget next year will go down dramatically. You know, we have some savings in the audit. We're also not using some of the professional services that we've used in the past, like PKF O'Connor Davies and Battalion to do a lot of the work for the department. So we're gonna have a sort of big year for spend because of the two new systems, and then it's gonna go back down. You know, I've looked over where I can trim more. I'm asking my bank to pick up more of our payroll services, to give us a larger, allowance for payroll. We currently get $48,000 paid for payroll by Provident Bank. You know, I've asked them to do better for next year. We're also going to look to possibly do an RFP and seek, you know, a better banking service, so that we can reduce these expenses even more.
I would like to ask you, excuse me, about a line 110 supply subscriptions.
Mhm.
Is that big jump there to
That's
the budget
Edmunds.
request? That's, what are we subscribing to? Are we using, you know,
Edmunds.
like software? Is it software as a service?
Yeah.
So it's not, okay.
Edmunds GovTech, yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, everything now is software as a service.
So we're not paying for a big software package. We're just,
So we're paying for the conversion, and then we'll have an annual subscription, because with that, you know, they're updating the code every other week, and, you know, they're providing the support, and they're constantly enhancing the system, and, you know, they're going to be running the WIP, which is the online portal, so that when the taxpayers go in, you know, they're going to be able to make their payments. And, you know, I will say taxpayers are going to love it because it is a much better online experience. It's safer. It's a better system of paying your property taxes and your sewer taxes online. You know, they're going to maintain the portal that we have on the website so that we're updating data in real time, revenue appropriations, so that the public, you know, it's a public facing portal. They can look to see where we're at with, you know, tax collection, or where we're at with, you know, the S&W spend as of, so, you know, that's going to be sort of like it doesn't update in real time. It updates every night, pulls from the system, but, you know, the public will be able to see those things. So, it's going to be a really good system. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. So, but there is an initial conversion cost.
right. Okay. No, I understand.
What is the
It-
yearly?
If you could, I just want to finish asking another question, if you could. Just wait a second. So on line 090 on the regular audit, we spent over 94,000 last year, and you're asking for 75 this year, and I'm just,
I'm actually asking for 62.
oh, because that's the,
For Samuel Klein, yeah. So they came in at 54, and I just leave a little bit extra in there if we have like an OS that we have to do and I need to charge it to the OE, or if there's some additional report, because we're probably going to need them to do a HUD report for us. I left a little in there for that.
so you wouldn't ordinarily put the development of an OS report into the audit line item, would you? Or just,
No,
just,
I would probably take it from an
okay, that's fine.
existing
Just, that's fine.
soft cost, but just in case, it's really more for that HUD report that I think we're gonna need them to do for us. Excuse me, for section 8.
Okay. Councilwoman, please. Thanks for your
A
patience.
couple of questions. What would a forensic audit cost?
Oh, we talked about that. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the years that you're looking at, could be up to $1 million. In fact, Samuel Klein was, I think really they were the only, well, I should watch what I say so I don't get sued by one of these firms. We asked for an RMA firm to do the forensic audit because again, we have a very specialized form of accounting. And they were the only RMA firm that responded. So, but just in talking with other accounting firms and forensic accountants, for the amount of years we were looking at first, it was like $1 million. And then when it went down, it was, probably a couple $100,000 per year to check, even checking individually significant items, not every single transaction, but just doing individually significant items, full audit on that is expensive. Yeah.
Could I just
Hmm?
clarify, when you said RMA, I'm not sure everybody
Oh,
knows what
right.
it is, but it's just basically municipal accounting. Somebody certified to understand municipal accounting, which is very different from generally accepted accounting principles.
Right.
So,
Right. So,
Yeah.
so the RMA is a unique license to state of New Jersey. I think Wyoming has RMAs or Montana has RMAs, but it's not the same sort of licensing. So an RMA, just for the public and for everyone here, to be an RMA, you have to be a CPA. You have to be a CPA in good standing, and then there's a test offered by state of New Jersey every first Saturday of every December. And the joke is that an RMA has to die for a new RMA to be made. And it's a very difficult test. It has a very low pass rate, but that's why our audits are so thick. If it was a gap audit, it would be much smaller. So that's the sort of very conservative accounting system that we operate in, and we need specialized auditors to do to opine on the financial statements and all that.
Okay, I'd like just to send that over to the Budget Advisory Committee to consider and maybe consolidate a year or two that if that is still a recommendation. Line 70,
Mhm.
miscellaneous junk drawer. Can you please give us some information on what that is?
Sure.
so is that an RMA term? Junk drawer? Okay.
So then the answer is this and that.
So. So in the miscellaneous section, we used to utilize an outside consulting firm to do a lot of the work for the finance office, reconciliations, the submission of the quarterly IROC reports, which is their pension forms for PERS. We've scaled it back, so we use this company, Battaglia Associates. When we initiate our payrolls, they perform some independent payroll testing, and they will point out if we have any significant changes in our payroll, whether it's OT or changes in base salary. And so they are always sort of benchmarking the salary ordinance that's in effect. So if someone, if a change is made and someone's now making $200,000 a year, they're going to come back and say, whoa, we did some data analysis and this doesn't make sense. This person's salary should only be, $45,000. So we use them for that. And it's a service that we're going to probably look to get away from because a lot of times everything is fine and there's no real findings and, I sort of cringe where I'm like, okay, we just spent, $900 and nothing changes. So I'm trying to transition that to my comptroller to be able to do that same sort of data analysis work. Cause that's what it really is. It's data analysis. It's taking, our payroll data from Kronos currently and basically putting it into pivot tables and doing some rudimentary data analysis and comparing it against the ordinance that we have in Excel. It's a massive document. And then also looking at OT, so OT variables. So if anything's over 15% of the prior period, they're flagging it and saying like, hey, what happened here? Did somebody enter in something incorrectly or, is this really the case? So that's what we use them for. And that's primarily where that miscellaneous money is spent. And so it works out to be, about $25,000 a year if you're doing it every payroll. So,
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so sorry I have to run and I'm sorry to end the meeting.
no, it's okay.
No
But-
problem. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Council President.
Another productive meeting. Please go ahead.
So
A motion to adjourn.
Second,
While you're here.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, the meeting is adjourned.
Our next meeting is a week from tomorrow, June 26th at 5 o'clock. Same bat time. Same bat, what's the second thing?
Channel.
Channel. Thank
Here. Karen, I'm gonna take these.